would be great. Thank you. This is all about building your brave. It's about building that courage of who you are. And we're going to start by talking a little bit about the pink pandemic. And let me share, Yvette, if you can put my LinkedIn in the chat, that would be awesome. Thank you. Can you all see my slides okay?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No.
Well, let me push share. That might help.
There we go.
Did that help?
That helps. That
Okay,
works.
thank you. Okay, slide, range. Okay, yes, I'm going to present. For those of you that I have not met, I'm Chelle Johnson. I know it's spelled weird, but that's part of me being brave and putting myself out there is it is pronounced Chelle. I started Colorado Career Connectors in February, and our goal at Colorado Career Connectors is to bring you the top speakers, the best recruiters from out of technology companies, large companies, and those standard tech companies that you really want to get into. We have brought you folks from Amazon, Ibotta, Health One, Omnitrax, Pax8, and today we have an amazing friend and an amazing speaker for you today. I'm a career coach and I love making an impact for my clients. In fact, over the past month, 8 clients have landed jobs and I'm so excited about that. Let's do the dance, Nicole.
Do the dance.
Do the dance.
Awkward girl dance.
Exactly. I'm a master connector. I connect people to jobs. In fact, probably 3 people on this call right now are interviewing at companies that I connected them in with. I'm a certified interview coach and I am a diversity and inclusion ally. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the pink pandemic. And what that means is, since yesterday was Mother's Day, and happy Mother's Day to all of you out there, or if you celebrated your mom or your wife or your daughters or your kids, whatever, the impact women have on the global workforce is really at a pandemic issue right now. According to the National Women's US Center, 275,000 women left just in January of this year. Think about that. More than 2.3 million women are not working or looking for work because of the homeschooling, because of the different hours that they have to work. We're down to the lowest number since 1988, with only 7% of women are working. And so Nicole and I are absolute allies and accomplices. And I use that word because we are here to promote women and those who identify as women and those that just love working with women to help them land jobs faster or to be promoted in a braver, more courageous way. And women who still have jobs have cut back their hours. Now globally, and Nicole and I are global career coaches. I personally am bilingual in English and Spanish. Nicole speaks a bit of German. Jawohl, a bit. She's actually bilingual in German as well.
Yeah, I lived in Germany for a long time.
Yeah, a long time. So we are global career coaches. I lived in Japan for 2 years and 780,000 jobs were lost in the first 7 months, mainly in heavily focused sectors. And in Europe, 11% of young females versus 9% of young males lost their roles. So we want to have opportunities for women to connect. And please put in your LinkedIn profile. The way that Nicole and I connected is through a women's mastermind group through Cami Gildner. And she and I had so many connections, I just had to get to know her better. It's through skills and competencies. And our hope for today is to really build your internal connection to yourself so that you're amplifying. And those of you that know me know that that is my word, amplify your awesome. And then to really have a community. Women and people who ally with women need to have a community. And that's what we're here at Denver Career Connectors to do, whether it's global. Nicole last year was one of the top speakers for Women Tech And you're going to learn why in just a moment. She has her own podcast. She has some unbelievable leaders coming on talking about how to build their brave. And the way that you can help reverse the pink pandemic is, what can you specifically do to help women grow their competencies? That's what Nicole and I do. We really want to help women and those who ally with women to build their skills of resilience. In fact, one of my podcasts on EWOW, which is Empowering Women of the World, is on women's resilience. We really want to build that empathy and that resilience for women so that they can amplify their awesome or build their brave. So we would love for this session for you to be interactive. We hope that you came to today's session with an example of where you need to be more brave, and that you invest in yourself the next hour and to acquire these things from either Nicole or me. Again, my name is Chelle Johnson. This is how you get in touch with me, either at Colorado Career Connectors or the Best You Advantage. And I recently just did this hi, so that is my QR code. Nicole, you're the tech person.
I love it.
Thank you. You're the tech person. So I see some chats going on. I'm gonna introduce Nicole to you now, and you are in for a treat today. Nicole, my friend.
Thank you.
It is all yours.
Oh, that's so exciting. Okay. So I will stop you and I will start sharing my screen. I just want to make sure that everyone can see it. Go ahead and at any point in time, I am in technology. I've been in technology my whole career. If at any point in time you want to speak up or you want to chat, feel free to do that. So, as Chelle already said, oh my goodness, there's multiple levels of the pandemic. And we're all feeling them, right? And one of the things that she and I are so passionate about is lifting up all voices. We know that specifically in tech, but I also saw that there's outdoor, there's retail, et cetera, in this group. Those are still, those are overseen by essentially 2 or 3 identities. So tech specifically, there are 2 identities that drive an estimated 86%. I love that we estimate when we say 86, but we do. 86% of decisions when it comes to investment, development, architecture, implementation, support, etc. And those 2 identities are straight, white, middle-aged men. I recently learned I am now middle-aged, which feels kind of exciting. So I got 2. And the other core identity that's deciding 86% of these are straight men who speak Mandarin as their first language. And I find that really fascinating because if we think about the population of the world, how many of us are not reflected in even how we're doing Zoom. So think about that. If you were to start Zoom, would you block off the cameras in the chat when people are sharing their screen? Is the content more important, or is the relationships? So these are some of the things that Chelle and I really wanted to bring into our conversation. And I want to inspire you with, as you're thinking about, what's the one thing you want to be more brave about? So I really encourage people, this is super interactive. I really encourage you to think about what is it that you want to be more brave about. And as you're thinking about that even more, a little bit about who I am. So my name is Nicole Trick Stienbach. And as I mentioned, I lived in Germany for a long time, which was a huge thing for me because I was born into a single mom welfare household. And I grew up in Appalachia. So I grew up in Southern Ohio. I was born in Dayton, Ohio, which is not a part of Appalachia, but my mom needed to bounce around. There were some really unhealthy situations in our family, and it was expensive even back then for a single mom. I had a stutter. I think you've already heard it 2 or 3 times, and now I'm a professional speaker. I went to school and I had the opportunity, because I was passionate about refugees. That's one of the things that Chelle and I connect on as well, and I wanted to join the US federal program for refugees. But my age, now that I'm middle age, means I graduated right after the September 11th attacks in the United States, and our investment in refugees essentially disappeared. Got the chance to move to Germany. And that is where I really started to think about bravery, where I felt so much fear, right? A lot of the times what we talk to other people about, what we sell is what we needed to do the most work on. I moved to Germany for 8 months, and I came back 13 years later with a mortgage in Germany, 2 little kids, and an amazing German husband. We just celebrated 12 years. While I was in, woohoo! It's like, yeah. While I was in Germany, I built a career in technology. I've worked in over 25 countries. And I want to stress again, I didn't even know that there were Protestants for most of my childhood, let alone that there were other religions, there were other ways of thinking. I never thought I would go abroad. And then here I am, I've worked in over 25 countries. And when I decided to leave corporate, because I was so passionate, but also frustrated about what was happening and the patterns even before the pandemic, I was an executive. I was running a global division. So I had staff all over the world, which is amazing when we get to travel, because then I get to see people no matter where I go. So that's a little bit about me and why I am so passionate about bravery and about thinking holistically and standing up for others. Chelle brought a really important word into our space, which is allies and accomplices, right? My biggest accomplishers were men. They were men from Australia and from the United States. They're both married to women, and they were the ones standing on top of the glass, hammering it down with gravity on their side and lifting up others. And so as we move through this, if that's something that you're interested in, there's so many materials out there. All right, but let's get going. So what we're going to do is we're going to define brave for the purposes of this. I've actually put the quote on the slide, Chelle, because I've gotten so much feedback about not having the quote on the slide for visual learners. I'm going to show you my very simple framework. As you can tell, I have a kooky sense of humor, so you're going to see that come out. And then you're going to get active. It's very kooky. I've learned to embrace it. And then you have the opportunity to make a commitment to yourself. You are in a community here and you get so much support from Chelle. So I really do hope that you'll make that commitment to yourself and that you'll feel comfortable sharing it with others. All right, y'all, it's interactive, 4th time. So get a pen, get a crayon, get a marker, whatever you need, and a piece of paper. Some people like to type. Some people like to use their phone. There's no judgment here. This is for you. This is your time. All right. First time ever I put the quote on the screen. So brave. A lot of us are told brave is running into buildings that are on fire, going to war. And I was in the US military. So I get it. It's okay. But that is not what brave is limited to. We get to open it up. We get to think about success in a different way. So Chelle, the first time that you heard this quote, you said something really fascinating to me. Do you remember what you said?
I don't, but I'm glad that you do. And then I left such an impression on you. No, tell me, what did I say?
It was in the mastermind, and you were, I think we were all in person, or maybe it just felt like we were in person because it's such an amazing group. But you said, like, this makes me feel like I'm a part of this. And that's what I want y'all to experience. You are a part of the brave revolution, because it's not about feeling afraid and doing it anyways. It's not about rushing into a building, as I said, or demanding a bigger salary or all of these aggressive things, or crushing the competition. It's about living from the inside out, right? It's about living as you are, who you are, and what you want. Not what my community wanted on welfare, because they certainly weren't thinking about me going abroad, but what do I want? Because that is what brave is. This quote is from Glennon Doyle's Untamed. If you haven't read it, I really want to recommend it to you because it's about being specific, being personal, and being ever changing. I had no intention of ever starting my own business until I did. I literally went to therapy for like 6 to 8 months to divorce from the company I had been with for 13 years because that is how I built my career. That's where the weddings I went to, the people worked there. My huge failures. I spent a year apologizing to people because I was a jerk for the 2 years beforehand, right? But that is the brave. And what's so important is that nobody knows if you're making that brave choice except for you. Right? So recently I was in a networking group and it's an amazing group of people. I'm so, so grateful I had the opportunity. But for me, I don't have the energy to be in so many groups. And even though this group is amazing, it's not the right place for me. For me, right? That can't be judged on the outside saying, hey, I'm going to leave this network group, not because there's anything wrong, but because it's not the right place for me. Now, I've already gotten feedback that's like, you should try harder because that's what the crowd wants, right? What do I want? So sometimes brave, what do you want to be more brave about? The pink pandemic, as it's being referred to, sometimes it's letting the other people think that you're a coward. Maybe not working right now is the right choice. Maybe diving into caregiving is the right choice. Maybe hiring someone else to do the caregiving and the homeschooling is the right choice. But you're the only one because you're the only one that can let yourself down. Let the other people down, please. Don't let yourself down. That's the type of brave we're talking about. All right. Are you ready? Are you excited? Kookiness coming through. Here you go. So there are 3 parts to my How to Build Your Brave framework. There is a ton of research behind this. So you've got the American Psychology Standards, you've got the European Change Management Framework, the ProSci framework, death and dying, as well as stress, positive psychology, etc., is all behind here. There are tons of interventions here, okay? This is how I communicate it. Tell it to your dentist. Generally, and very artificially, because they're all working together, I refer to as part 1. And it's all about clarity. We're going to do an exercise for each of these parts. So we're just going to hit the high notes right here. Part 2 is experience it like a kindergartner. All about momentum. And part 3 is own it like a boss. And that's accountability. Clarity, momentum, accountability. Now at this point, I like to share a little story, but Chelle, I also really want to hear your brave story. So when I think about clarity, momentum, and accountability, I think about homeschooling. So this is a new story for me. What's homeschooling, right? I had no intention of ever being a homeschooler. To be totally frank with y'all, the whole baby, infant, toddler phase wasn't mine. My kids are now 9 and 7. They were 8 and 6 at the beginning of the homeschooling process, or remote schooling, as some people call it. And for me, the clarity piece was, what is most important to me and to my family? And it was acknowledging how much the kids were actually the resiliency, right? You were saying that, Chelle, resiliency. Acknowledging that they're little people, acknowledging that they've never done this before, giving grace to myself that I have never done this before. Experience it like a kindergartner, that momentum piece was communicating clearly issues, questions inside the family, but also outside of the family. And quite frankly, for our family, and now this feels kind of, I'm trepidatious. Our family was to say our kids aren't going to do it all. They're not going to show up all the time. They're not going to dial in for 6 meetings when they're in kindergarten and 3rd grade. It's not going to happen. Our family's not going to do that. This is what we will do instead. And how can we work together, right? And then accountability is actually following through. On the days when I was back to back to back to back, I was speaking globally, I was working with Anita B, I was doing all of these things, still saying, my kids are first. They're having a hard moment. I'll be back in 10. I'll be back in 15, or I just need to table this and I promise we'll get this forward, right? But that is an example of how I have used this framework just in the last year that simplified and helped us lead to our values, build resiliency, and actually strengthen our family dynamics. That's just an example. Ellie, do you have a story you want to share?
So I think all of us have it within us to be braver, especially in this pandemic. I've just read that 30 to 50% of people are going to be looking for new roles if the company does not allow remote work, work from home, or hybrid work. So my specific example of I knew in 2019 that I was not happy and I was basically on this corporate treadmill growing up and up. I was the director of talent at Comcast, but I lost who I was on the inside. I couldn't tell it to a kindergartner, but I knew I had to do something different, or I couldn't tell it to my dentist, although that's a very good person to network with if y'all network with your dentist, right? Because he knows so many people. So in 2019, I knew that I had to do something different and I had to dig deep. And luckily, I was laid off from Comcast. And my story of bravery is actually starting my own business. And now I own it like a boss. I love what I do. I love being an Anita B premium coach. What that means is it's the largest group of women in computer science in the world. And Nicole and I are amongst 15 women that are coaches for that group of people. So, what we want to know is what is your story? What is how do you build your brave? When I was at Lockheed Martin, I knew that 25 people reporting to me was too many. And so I had a brave conversation with my boss about you have me in charge of workforce planning. I have these PhD workforce analysts that are under me. I'm not very good at Excel. It was just the wrong fit, right? So, what is your story and how do you build your brave? So, those are two examples of, Nicole talking about homeschooling, me talking about having a really difficult conversation with my boss. Maybe building your brave right now is just getting up, looking for work, knowing your branding statement, and trying to do something different to make yourself a job seeker of impact that resonates. So I see that Yvette has put, what's your story of brave? So if you want to be brave, I'd love to see a few stories come in through the chat about what is your story of brave, or where do you want to be braver? Nicole, I hope I didn't steal any of your thunder by that.
Oh my girl, let's be real. When we amplify each other, the awesomeness goes up.
Exactly.
I learned that from somebody. All right, all right, let's get into the framework and I'm going to explain a little bit more about this naming. All right, so tell it to your dentist. Here's what you do. Whatever that goal is right now, as you know it today, we are not here for perfection, right? We're not here to say, oh, I know everything about Excel, or I know everything about remote skilling, nothing in my life has to give, right? What is your goal as you know it today? So as an example, when Chelle gave me the chance to be a part of this, I'm super jazzed because I really enjoy living in Colorado and I want to make Colorado even better, right? And I know some of you are outside of Colorado. My goal was to inspire at least 2 of you, having no idea how many people would come, inspire 2 of you to take action. That was my goal. And I had to go inside of myself. I had to think about it, right? I had to add some specifics, many, where, why. Like I really had to do that internal work, right? So I could get clear. I needed to put it into the present tense. There's a whole piece on the neurology here and why that matters to your brain. I'm not going to go into that today because we have limited time. When I do this for a couple of days, we go into that research. But is I inspire two people to action. Today, I inspire two people to action, whatever that is for you, two people to action, right? And then I need to share it. I need to share it with my 3 to 5 brave people. The reason I call it tell it to your dentist is because, okay, I grew up in poverty, so I don't have the best teeth. And I have gone to dentists in, I think, 5 different countries. And I've gone in a couple of them to like different dentists. And maybe it's a dentist thing. I don't know. People tell me they don't have this experience. Maybe it's, but my dentist always asks me questions that matter. So there I am, and I'm leaning back, and I've got my mouth open, and they've got their stuff in, and then they ask me a question that matters. And the reason that this is clarity is because when you're so clear about your goal, that you can tell it to yourself, you can tell it to the people who support you in your life, and you can tell it to your dentist when you got all this stuff going on. You know your goal, they know your goal, and they can help you. That's why it's called Tell It to Your Dentist. Recently, I have been changing the packages I offer to the people I coach. And I have actually literally put food in my mouth and tried to explain it so that I knew what I wanted to say. This super duper works. Get clear, okay? So you've got your goal as you know it today. One thing our brains absolutely love is repetition. So you're so clear, you can tell it to your dentist, you can share it with your 3 to 5 brave people. Okay, so now you've taken action. You've written it one time. You've added some information. Think about your verbs, whole neurology going on there, and then some of the people that you want to share it with. Ready? Because we're going further. So I don't know why this still says learn it like a kindergartner. It should say experience it like a kindergartner, Miss Nicole. So failure is a great part of being a kindergartner. I see a couple people on the line. Thank you so much for coming. I loved that I invited you and you showed up. So y'all know I have 2 kids. I've mentioned it, a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old. For those of you who have more than one, or you have a couple of nephews, or you see the kids next door and how crazy different they are, mine are the same. So I have one that begins, we call it the learn, act, spiral, right? Begins the spiral in the learn. No matter what's going on, I love to use the example of the monkey bars. He will walk up and he will look and he'll take notes. And he'll see people succeeding and see people failing. And then he'll go into action. Fantastic. My other one is the exact opposite. She will run up, cut the line, jump up, fall on her popo, leap up, they go, oh, okay, and then do it again. She enters in the act spiral, okay? So however you act, if it's act or it's learn, it doesn't matter because it's a cycle that you go into, and knowing how you want to start is your value. That's the experience part. So you want to rewrite your goal, right? So maybe you started in thinking, or maybe you were like, you grabbed your pen and you're just like, I don't know what I'm writing. And then you learned. Whatever you've experienced in the past couple of minutes, rewrite it. Rewrite it with more specificity. Rewrite it with a goal, like a verb goal inside of there. But this is part of what your brain loves. Your brain loves repetition. And so if we're repeating what we want, we're not repeating what we don't want. So you want to repeat what you want. Okay? Now, there are 2 parts to this exercise. For right now, this is the compressed version. What small action can you take? And or what small piece of information can you discover? So when I was thinking, I shared a little bit about the remote schooling. The first thing that I needed to do was to ask people who actually homeschool, like, what kind of time investment is this? How much do you think they can do on their own? Like, I needed that insight from people who've made the choice. regardless of a pandemic, to homeschool or wish they could make that choice. In Germany, homeschooling is not legal, but I know people who had spent a lot of time thinking about it. So I was able to talk to them about it. And then I needed to go into action, which was at the beginning was literally sitting down with my husband and saying, so WTF, this is what I've learned. This is what I've understood. What about you? And then through that, we could feel all the feeling. We could make a plan of who we want to be and what we want to do. I want to stress that again. Who we be, what we do. We always start with who we be. Who do we want to be? Do we want to be, I mean, I saw something in there about outdoor. Do we want to be a leader in the outdoor space? Well, what do they do? And then we start doing that, right? So this is how we get into the spiral. I want to take a short little, this is what change we often think it's going to feel like, right? We're going to remote schooling. We're looking for a new job. I have a client who just went into salary negotiations. It's green, it's even, it's going up. Isn't that exciting? We know that we actually lie to ourselves every single time we go into a change, right? This is what it can feel like. This is what my clients tell me. I showed a variety of images and they're like, yeah, it feels like a lot and it's looping back and there's too many and these are uneven. And what the heck is happening? This is the experience part. That's why it's not called learn it like a kindergartner. It's called experience it like a kindergartner. And this is what it can look like on the outside. Building your brave, that clarity part of telling 3 to 5 people, even if they support you, when they support you. There's going to be a lot of times when it's like, am I in that circle? Am I out of that circle? Is it on fire? Am I on fire? Is this going to last? And they're on the outside going, what is happening? Why is it so uneven? Why is she not down here? Why is he up here? I don't understand what's going on. Change kind of sucks. One of my clients just did her TEDx, and her TEDx, I'm totally advertising for her right now, is called How to Make Change Suck Less, or How to Make Change Not Suck, or something like that. But it does a lot of the time, right? And so just being ready for the feeling of what it feels like to build your bravery, right? Can feel like this so often. I felt like this so much during remote schooling and business building and even becoming an executive. And this is what it can feel like from the outside. Like, what am I doing? Am I on fire? This is what I hope for you, what I wish for you, what so many of my clients, I mean, they chose this. This was the image that they chose, right? We all were working together. This is what I wish for you. And this is what building your brave and utilizing this kooky fun framework and doing this work for yourself and starting with clarity and momentum and the be, who am I, into the do, what do I do? What action do I take? What do I learn? This being in your bravery, in your change. Look at all those gorgeous colors. Yeah, it's uneven. Life is a bit uneven, but couldn't that just be fun? And not knowing what's going on because you're in the change, right? So this is the wish for the experience. This is my hope. And this is what many clients, I'm sure Chelle, your clients as well, experience more and more moments of this, right? And fewer of, ah! All right. So the last phase, accountability. We practice, right? We repeat. So you write down your goal with whatever new insight came in. A lot of the times, just to flip back, when I'm doing this in person, and we used to have those apps and people could interact at the same time. And when people got the chance to see this, one of the questions I would ask is, did your goal change? And a lot of people are like, yes, or refined it. Oh my gosh, I want to feel more like this. I want to be more like this. And I want to do less of that and have less of those feelings, right? Those beliefs, those thoughts, that mindset. So go ahead and write it down again. We practice that which we want. Okay. Here are the 2 core questions. And this is usually where people get super excited or super freaked out. What opportunity is right in front of you that you are not grabbing? You know that thing that came too soon? that interview. I think, Chelle, I think one of your clients did this a while ago. I think you posted about it. It was like, wow, I got the interview. I'm not ready. You're so ready. Like, grab that opportunity. Or what obstacle? Now, this can be habits. I recently learned I have an autoimmune disorder, and I recently learned that alcohol isn't great for me right now. I'm on this whole treatment thing. So the habit was my glass of wine. And I just heard my soul cry a little bit because that's something I deeply enjoy, right? But it was a habit that was an obstacle to my healing, was an obstacle to my strength. It had to go. Or perhaps a belief. When I started my business, I really believed I'm an executive. What is this? It was so hard to shift my core belief. Finances, obligations, I was so excited about today. My dog went to doggy dog care because if he wasn't, he'd be in here complaining and barking and getting excited about this girl. He's a doggy dog care, right? What are those obligations? Opportunity to grab or something that you need to remove. And one thing that I really want to hammer here is relationships. Many. I used to say all, but now I'm going to say many. Many of my clients, when they go to share with their dentist or their 3 to 5 brave people, there are 4 responses that they get, and not all of them are positive. Sometimes we love the people I was sharing with that networking group. They're great people, but those relationships weren't something I could invest in right now with where my business is, where my energy is, and the obligations I have elsewhere. Sometimes we have to shift relationships, even those relationships that are most important to us. So I hope that you wrote down your goal again. I hope that you identified an opportunity to grab and an obstacle to address, right? Doesn't mean you kill it. Doesn't mean you remove it. It means that you shift it, you address it, right? Because this is the commitment piece. Because it all comes down to, what are you going to do about it? And sometimes people misunderstand me and they think it's an action. What action do I take? What do I do? What do I sign up for? What do I pay for? What do I fix or break up with my partner or whatever, right? No, it's like, is it a self-belief? Is it more clarity? Is it, one of my clients identified that she wanted to go on a 2-week silent meditation. A mother of multiple children, executive, traveled globally, 2 nannies, like all the things. And that's what she was going to choose for herself because she couldn't make space in her head. That was a choice that she made, right? So this could be anything. Maybe you're going to quit. Maybe you're going to grab that promotion. Who knows? But it really comes down to, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to feel about it? What are you going to think about it? What are you going to believe about it?
Nicole, we have some brave participants who have put out on the chat what they're being brave about, and I want to thank them for doing that. Patrice, I absolutely understand overcoming that lack of self-confidence. Who here, through raise of hand, understands needing to be more brave in an interview, right? Who can relate to that? Everyone can relate to that. That is why we bring you topics like this on. It is making a commitment to yourself. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how you can do that. We also have a very brave from Kate that after years of school district ignoring her son, you did this complaint to the state, and super, super amazing act of bravery. You then got your MBA at MIT at 53, and now you're having difficulty finding a job. That can't happen. That's why Nicole and I are here. We want you to take that self-confidence and make that commitment to yourself, to amplify your awesome, to really resonate with who you are. And I'm certified in what's called positive intelligence. And Nicole just took this training as well.
It's amazing.
20 of my clients have gone through this, including a few people here on the call. We can help you with that. And then we have, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Gail Morona. You're,
Before you move on, Chelle, can I
yeah.
just really quickly? So I happen to have a client that went to MIT. I haven't worked with him in a little bit, but they're like one of the biggest fears they have is that people will graduate and not get that return on investment. I hate that term, but it's true. And so their career center, especially their graduate studies career center, and I would have to Google to find the name, but I'm sure that it's available. They don't want that to be the case. And they helped so that was one of the things that my clients identified is like, well, I went to MIT. I thought, oh, well, maybe the networking there would be helpful. I went to Pitt. Not so much, but MIT, and they really helped him, and they opened up certain doors, and there were certain alumni events, etc. And that's actually how he ended up finding not his immediate job, but then when he stepped into his executive role, it was over the MIT network. So I just want to encourage you to really reach out. Hopefully that would help.
I'm active there, but the truth is that my success was in sales at IBM here and in London, like a worldwide network. And they really looked down upon that, although I don't think they realized the revenue opportunity there. So I'm kind of a salesperson, and I developed all these data analysis skills.
Wow.
And so I'm not sure they know what to do with me, So I am working with them, but it's a slow process. And I think part of it is the ageism is another issue.
It's so real. It's
so ageism in technology. I mean, once you're over 40, they think you're not capable of much.
32. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the age is 32. Because when I was 35, I learned that I was one of the mature adults. I was like, whoa, not. So you said London, right?
Yeah, I installed a network called Concert. It was $700 million worth of revenue in 3 years, 40 countries.
That's why you need to talk with Nicole or me, because we can help you.
All right,
sure.
good.
We're very accustomed. Yeah, she's very accustomed. So Nicole, what's this make a commitment to yourself?
Oh, make a commitment to yourself is I'm going to do X, Y, Z. So Kate, because you went off, can I just like use you as a potential example? Okay, cool. Thank you. So for example, Kate could say, I'm going to put more pressure on MIT. Or she could say, I'm going to post on LinkedIn about how amazing MIT is and make sure everybody realize it. Or I'm going to make I'm just making up things. These are not suggestions. I'm going to use Canva and I'm going to make an image that says, I sold and I made this much money from my company, you lucky people. Or I'm going to do research on ageism in tech and write an article about it. Like there's a lot of things, or those are all due. Kate could say, you know what, I'm going to spend 10 seconds every single morning. This is what I do. I'm going to look in the mirror in my eye and I'm going to say, I love you, Nicole, every morning, and work on my beliefs. Oh God, you just feel so good when you do it. So that could be some of the examples of make a commitment to yourself. Thank you for letting me use you.
Yeah, it really is about that commitment. When my clients or even Nicole's get jobs faster, it's about that commitment to yourself, to know yourself, but then also to be very consistent about how you go about communicating your value, selling and speaking your truth. At least for me, Nicole, that's what gets 8 clients of mine jobs in the past 3 weeks with an average percent of like 27%, one of them doubling their income. I mean, I know that you do the same thing. So it's really about that commitment. And I know that this isn't just your typical, let's do a tactical, this is how you do a resume. We're trying to get quirky. We're trying to have fun with you because job searching is so effing soul suck, right? You guys know that. We're trying to have a little more fun with you. So I want you to put that out there. What is your brave that you're going to take from this? We've only heard from 3 of you, and you were really brave. Or if you wrote it down, that's fine. But what is your one commitment to take from today? Okay, Nicole, I'm off my pulpit now. I'm handing it back to you.
No, my gosh, are you kidding? That was awesome. So Gail, I don't know if I'm saying it properly. Gaila is how I would say it in German. So that is extraordinary. And there's someone in my network. So part of me being in positive intelligence is I'm part of a global gals, and we have a few people from Africa, and they know how challenging that can be when it's between Europe and Africa. So if I could help introduce you to someone who works in the nonprofit area, they're in, I believe they're in Madagascar now, I'm not exactly sure, but please pop me an email over LinkedIn, and then I can just start. I can introduce you. Who knows, right? But that is gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Oh, yeah, and DocuSign is growing. Facebook is growing. SAP, Oracle are growing. Tesla is actually a tech company. So 2020 was really, really hard for tech. A lot of people suffered a lot. 2021, tech in the industry in and around tech are expected to grow in between 15 and 18%.
So talking about that, if you are looking at growth in tech companies, for those of you here in Colorado, the Denver Business Journal just came out with the best places to work 2021. I highly recommend that you look at those. And there's a lot of things going on around diversity and inclusion, which is also a huge growth point and pain point for companies right now. If Nicole or I can help you with any of those types of things, we're going to be bringing on several DEIB speakers in the July-August timeframe. So make sure that you're on the lookout for that. So Nicole,
yes.
Make the commitment to yourself. I think we kind of skimmed through. What else did you want to chat with the group about? There you go.
That is it. That is it. So this workshop can go up to 4 days. I do that for some of the leading tech companies. But what I want to leave you with is your bravery, and when you're brave, is up to you. It's not up to other people. It's up to you. What do you wish for? If it's a foundation that supports in Africa, if it's being out in outdoor spaces, if it's crushing it in the space of and making people realize the power of sales in tech with an MIT degree, and all of these other things, standing and advocating for your child and holding people responsible as a child who is also, what do they call them, 2 E's? Wow, that is so big, right? Whatever it is, what matters is that it's important to you, that you are holding it up for you. Disappoint everybody else, but not the person in the mirror, not the person who goes to sleep and wakes up every day. And have fun, be kooky. This is so simple, but this is the most powerful work that you can do, is get clear, build your momentum, and make sure that you're building your accountability. Because when you build your brave, you change your world. And no matter how it is, and we need so many more people, right, living in their space, then we can change the world together. Yeah.
Now, you see why I invited Nicole to speak with us, because her goal is to really build the brave to change the world. Thank you, my friend. So awesome. Just a really simple framework. Knowing your branding statement of when you are resonating with someone that you're networking with, be able to put your head back and be able to gurgle with it. I am known for. We've talked a lot on my webinars about your branding statement. If you're not clear on that, I want you to be brave and look at yourself in the mirror and talk about your branding statement. Now, in order to have that commitment to yourself, it's really hard when you're having these negative thoughts and that your inner critic and your judge. Who has that inner critic? Who has that judge? Let me see raised hands. So all of you know what I'm talking about, that monkey mind in your head that ping pongs. What if you could really activate that peak performance and reduce your stress? I have clients in Afghanistan, Spain, the UK, here in the United States that have taken this journey with me in this mental fitness boot camp. And I'm having a mental fitness boot camp in June and July for high achieving women, because I really want to focus on helping with this pink pandemic and relieving that. How do you calm your restless mind? Nicole's also adding this to her packages, and we want to amplify your energy.
Yeah.
The results of positive intelligence really are outstanding. I have someone who is actually works with a group in Poland, and she is a Salesforce systems admin. She left a toxic, and I do mean toxic, where HR was coming to her about her boss environment. We did an exit strategy for her. We found her a new job. She got more pay in less time, and she is now killing her audits from her client, the customer service. She's now, that spiral that Nicole is talking about, the picture of what Nicole's talking about, of the rainbow spiral effect. Her name is Jolene. She's on my recommendations if you want to look. I also helped Owen, who is number 3 in the Army for support for troops in the Army. He would call in at 4 a.m. his time in Afghanistan. Through positive intelligence, he was able to get more calm, much less stress. And the effect of that on the Army in Afghanistan during the pandemic, huge. He's also on my recommendations. If you're a high achieving woman, or you know someone who really wants to have that peak performance, calm that crazy monkey mind, get in touch with me. I'd really love to help you with that. Our next career connectors.
Michelle or Shelley, before
Yes,
we
Michelle. Oh my God.
I know. What was up with that? Because because I was writing to Michelle and our husbands were both German. We're gonna connect.
Awesome. Awesome.
Fun. Okay, if I could just really quickly, I got a text message from someone privately, so I'm not gonna call you out unless you want to call it. I did get a question at the beginning. We talked a little bit about being an ally and being an advocate. So I want to build your brave in that space. It is so I'm going to speak as a white straight woman. It is so scary to make space for the first time, because I know that I was scared to do it wrong. And I want to just encourage everyone to know that a lot of times we do anything the first 20 times wrong, but trying builds the muscle, builds the mental fitness muscle, and builds the job search muscle, but also builds the equity muscle. And a lot of the times it's about reaching over for someone who's a different gender and being awkward, a different race, a different religion, a different citizenship, a different whatever. Yes, I did it wrong a million times, but I always try to make space, and it changes people's lives. When we, as a white woman, if I lift other women, then it changes the world, okay? So yes, we're gonna mess up. Thank you for the text message. And please, Desiree Attaway, for people who are American, has a freedom school. It's a wonderful place, how to be an anti-racist, etc. So thank you, Shelley. I just didn't wanna miss that.
No, that's awesome. I also do the same thing. I'm on panels for Braven, which is first generation minority students. I'm the only white woman on there. And it's about building my own brave, to talk about my own white privilege and bolster up. And so, yes, we're quirky, we're fun, but we absolutely are advocates and accomplices for women, allies, those who identify as women, and men who are allies of bolstering women. So build that brave muscle. I mean, the equity. If you were with us last time with Denise Levatro, I know Denise actually helped. She's amazing. A couple people on this call build their brave with pay and negotiation tactics. So our next call is going to be stop job boarding. If you're just looking at job alerts that come in from Indeed, LinkedIn, Glassdoor, or if you're here in Denver and you're not on Andrew Hudson's job list, you absolutely should be on Andrew Hudson's job list. Don't just job board. We're going to talk about how do you amplify your building your own job. That's with Meredith Massey and me. We have a couple minutes left. Are there any questions in the group that you'd like to ask?
I do have a question.
Yes.
You mentioned Andrew Hudson's job list. Could you give more information on that?
Yes, we will be recording and sending out this recording. If you look at Andrew Hudson job list, Colorado, you will find that it has nonprofit, technology, some of the best places to work. It has public sector, private sector. We will include that in the email out to all of you, as well as I love the book Untamed. We'll send out a link to Untamed. So everything we talked about in here will either be on the recording. You can connect with Nicole or I, or we'll give you a link to some of those job lists.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Please get the word out on Colorado Career Connectors. We are really here to bolster you up and how you resonate within your job search and how you feel about yourself. So go build your brave, make that commitment, tell it to your dentist, own it like a kindergartner, and
Experience it like a kindergartner, own it like
Experience
a boss.
own it like a boss. Okay, I'll be on for a couple more minutes if there are any other questions. Thank you so much for joining us. We are here to support you. Thank you.
Thank you. Be well.